My name is Elena. I'm 34 years old. For years I told myself I was living, but the truth is colder, I was just drifting. Days folded into one another like pages in a book no one was reading. I woke up, moved through the hours, came home, and fell asleep, always a little detached, always a little numb. I didn't notice how much of myself had gone quiet until I decided, almost on impulse, to do one small thing differently. That one choice cracked open everything I'd been ignoring. I've been married to Daniel for 10 years. He's the kind of man who still opens doors, who remembers how I take my coffee, who never raises his voice. Steady. Gentle. Safe. Our life ran on quiet tracks, same breakfast time, same commute, same evenings on the couch with the television murmuring in the background. There was no fighting, no drama, just a slow, heavy silence that settled between us like dust. I loved him, or at least I believed I still did. But love can slip into routine so gradually you don't feel it leaving. One night I was scrolling, restless, and a simple post caught my eye: local dance nights, open to couples and singles. I hadn't danced since college. The idea felt silly, harmless, almost nostalgic. Yet it lingered. Maybe it was the word singles. Maybe it was the faint promise of feeling my own heartbeat again. I mentioned it to Daniel. He smiled, said, "You should go. You deserve to enjoy yourself." He didn't ask to come along. He didn't press. So the next Friday, I went alone. The studio smelled faintly of wood polish and perfume. Soft lights, slow music, bodies moving in gentle circles. I stood near the wall, arms crossed, feeling like an intruder. That's when Lucas appeared. He moved with the kind of confidence that doesn't shout, it simply exists. Dark eyes, easy smile, the sort of presence that makes the room feel smaller. He walked straight over, extended his hand, and said, "You look like you belong on the floor." No hesitation. No game. Just certainty. I laughed, nervous, surprised, and took his hand. The first dance was light. Nothing more than steps, rhythm, laughter. My body remembered things my mind had forgotten. Spins, dips, the simple thrill of being led and leading back. For the first time in years I felt awake, really awake. A part of me that had been curled up tight began to unfold. One night became every Friday. Conversations stretched past the last song. Lucas walked me to my car under streetlights, talking about music, about dreams, about how easy it is to let life shrink. Messages started arriving during the week, small things at first, a song recommendation, a photo of the studio lights. He told me I carried something rare, something routine could never erase. I told myself it was innocent. Just friendship. Just joy, but joy borrowed from the wrong place can turn sharp. One Friday the room emptied out slowly. The music kept playing, low and slow. Lights dimmed to a warm amber. Lucas pulled me closer than usual. Not sudden. Natural. Like the song itself had drawn us in. My pulse climbed. His hand rested at the small of my back, steady, warm. I could feel the heat of him, the faint scent of cedar and clean cotton. Our faces were inches apart. I saw the question in his eyes. I felt the answer rising in my own chest. I thought of Daniel. Of the lamp he always left on for me. Of the way he still kissed my forehead before sleep. And for one long, terrifying heartbeat, I didn't want to go home. I wanted this, the attention, the heat, the feeling of being seen. We leaned in. Close enough to share breath, then I stopped. My hands trembled against his chest. I stepped back, the air suddenly cold. Lucas looked at me, soft, searching. "You don't have to go back to a life that doesn't light you up," he whispered, but I already knew the truth. Part 2, word count, 700, the words hung in the air like smoke, curling around my doubts. But I shook my head, heart pounding, and turned away. The studio felt too small, the music too loud, and the silence that followed. I grabbed my coat and left without looking back, the cool night air hitting me like a wake-up call. My hand still shook as I drove home, replaying the moment, how close we'd been, how his breath had brushed my lips, how part of me had wanted to close the distance. Guilt twisted in my chest, sharp and unrelenting. Not just for what almost happened, but for the longing that had built it all. When I slipped through the door, Daniel was asleep on the couch. The soft glow of the television painted his face in quiet blues. Dinner waited on the table, untouched, a simple plate he'd made for us. He looked so peaceful, so trusting, and that sight broke something inside me. I stood there, frozen, realizing the betrayal hadn't been in a kiss, it had been in my thoughts, in the secrets I'd kept, in the emotional space I'd given to someone else. Tears came then, silent and hot. I had crossed lines I never thought I would, all while convincing myself it was harmless. The next morning, I deleted Lucas's number. No more Fridays at the studio. No more messages lighting up my phone. When Daniel asked if I was alright, his voice gentle over coffee, I set my mug down and said, "I feel lost." He didn't push for details. He just reached across the table, took my hand, and whispered, "We'll find our way. Together." That quiet forgiveness, offered without full knowledge, shifted everything. It wasn't dramatic, it was real, a steady anchor in the storm I'd created. 2 years have slipped by since that night. Daniel and I started small, weekend drives to places we'd never been, late-night talks on the porch about dreams we'd set aside. We argued more, real arguments, not silences, but we laughed more too. We burned breakfast trying new recipes, danced in the kitchen to old songs, held each other through the ordinary days. I wondered sometimes what he sensed during those months. Did he notice my distraction, the way I'd check my phone? Did he feel the distance growing? He never said, but in quiet moments, I'd catch him watching me with a soft concern, as if he knew healing was still unfolding. The emptiness I'd felt didn't vanish overnight. It had to be faced, layer by layer. I learned that attention from someone new isn't value, it's just a mirror, reflecting what you've ignored in yourself. Lucas had said I didn't have to settle, but he was wrong. You don't escape unhappiness, you rebuild from it. Daniel and I explored more, trips to the coast, classes we took together, conversations that dug deeper than surface routines. What specific words mended us? The ones like "I miss us" or "let's try this." Simple, but they bridged the gaps. Sometimes I still think about that near miss in the studio, not with regret for Lucas, but for the version of myself who finally admitted she craved more. The woman who stirred from numbness, even if she wandered too far. There's a whisper of loneliness that lingers after nearly losing it all. It doesn't demand attention, it just reminds you how fragile connection is. Daniel looks at me now with a deeper care, seeing the cracks and choosing to stay. That's the rare gift, forgiveness not earned, but given freely. Our love isn't a whirlwind. It's deliberate, built on choices we make every day. Trying something new didn't shatter us, it revealed the work we needed. If I could whisper to that drifting woman I once was, I'd say, "You're not empty. You're just waiting to be seen, by yourself, first." Life's transformation isn't in the chase, it's in recognizing what's been there, quietly waiting.